first thing that you need to do when you are looking at a text such as this non-fiction text is to identify at least one or two techniques. Now obviously you've got to answer the question, and so the question will not just say identify a technique, it will say identify a technique which, and will go on to give you some framing for the techniques you've got to identify. For this exercise, however, let's just see what we can find in the first paragraph. I want you to pause this now and see how many techniques you can identify in the first 10 lines. I've got quite a few. How many can you get? Okay, pause now and identify. Just write them down and an example of each one. Have you done that? Alright, let's see how many you get. Well, firstly, of course, we've got personal pronouns, which is narrative point of view. The narrative point of view is first person. So, for example, I found intriguing, I realised. So that's first person. The second one is there's plenty of emotive language in this particular piece. Words like shock and horror, and down below that, or up here of course, we've got horrified, we've got disgusted, all emotive language, producing a feeling and response, obviously in this case, from the person talking about domestic violence. There's plenty more though. In my English class we were watching a film. Here the student is relating an anecdote. Now anecdote can be certainly a technique. But wait, there's more. Down here are two words, fair enough. Now you'll notice the writer has put them into one sentence. It's not a real sentence, it's a minor sentence. A real sentence needs to have a key verb, and it needs to also have a subject. If it's missing one of those, it's a minor sentence. In this case though, it's permissible to use a minor sentence because there's a reason for it, and that reason is to emphasize the points being made. It also adds to another technique that I'll be looking at here, and that is conversational language. It's almost as if the student is talking directly to you about what her class and herself realized from watching this film. Connected to that particular technique of conversational language, of course, is another term that I think is very, very important, and that term is colloquial language. Can you find an example of colloquial language in the first paragraph? There's one staring you right in the face. It's right here. Obviously, we say OMG, oh my God, etc. And this is not formal at all, and yet it's used in a fairly formal piece. It's used to relate to the audience, to relate to the reader, to identify that reader as a friend maybe. And so quite often you'll find in some of these pieces, because they're designed to be read by teenagers, colloquial language will be used. Look out for that technique. There's another technique in the same sentence. There is no outrage, no horror, no disgust, no oh my God. Right? Of course, you can call this a number of things. You can call this listing, because there's a list of particular parts of a sentence, no outrage, no horror, no disgust. You can call this a triple construction because it uses the same structure within the sentence, the word no being repeated a number of times. So, how many have we looked at? Quite a few. Have you missed any? Well, I found another one. What about this? There's a question mark here. Have a look at that sentence. Why aren't we nearly as upset when we are presented with other violence? Yes, it's the old favourite rhetorical question. So we've found anecdote, we've found narrative point of view, minor sentence, listing, conversational language, colloquial language, rhetorical question. I'm sure there are more, but that'll do us for today. Identify the technique, give an example, and then you've got to do the hard part, and that's explaining. Good luck.